Former President Donald Trump has just released a brand new policy proposal. Interest payments on the U.S. national debt have now exceeded $1 trillion. And did Tim Walz really call Kamala Harris the P word? We're going to get into all of that and much more in today's video. But first, we turn to CNN, where they had an absolute meltdown over Kamala Harris's latest polling numbers.
Worst polling Democrat against Donald Trump in history on national polls. No one's performing worse among blacks, among Hispanics, the worst performing Democrat in modern history among those demographics, worst performing polling wise among Jews. She is losing key factions of the Democratic base. Muslim voters, she's at under 50%, she's at 52% in the latest CAIR poll among black Muslims. She is not doing well.
That is not good news at all for the Harris campaign, especially on the heels of this week's presidential debate. If an obviously biased network like CNN is freaking out and in meltdown mode over Harris's campaign, then you know things are really bad. And it's not just CNN, even CBS was surprised. CBS sent Major Garrett to the swing state of Michigan. He interviewed voters all across the state, and they were stunned at what he found.
And so I talked to 20 voters, not one of them was undecided.
Wow.
Not one.
Not one. And headlines come and go, but let me tell you this. Support for former President Trump is real and resilient. I encounter that everywhere I went. And that's something the Harris campaign knows, recognizes, the fact in Michigan.
So it's not just the public polling. We've been poring over the public polls the last few days, the last few weeks, but it's also the internal polls that these campaigns have. Well, an internal poll from the Trump campaign was leaked, and I was able to get my hands on a copy. This is from Tony Fabrizio and Travis Tunis. And what they found was that prior to the debate, Kamala Harris and Donald Trump were tied at 46 percentage points each. But after the debate, Trump actually gained support. He's now at 48% compared to Kamala Harris, who is still at 46. So Trump is now ahead by 2 points, according to Trump campaign's internal polling. So if we take out all of the other candidates and it's just Trump and Harris, his lead actually increases by 1 percentage point. He's now ahead by 50% to 47%. Now, I tend to believe internal campaign polling because the consultants and the pollsters' jobs rely on this. Their reputation relies on this. Public polling has there are a lot of motivations for that, right? They can be trying to energize turnout, suppress turnout, trying to encourage donors, there's so much you can do with public polling, but the internal polling has to be as accurate as possible. The campaign wants it to be as accurate as possible if they want to win. So they're going to put more stock into what their internal numbers are showing, and based on what we're seeing on the mainstream media, based on what we're hearing from the Harris campaign, I have a tendency to believe these internal polling numbers. And don't forget, even James Carville is saying that Kamala Harris, despite the rosy public polling, is going to have a difficult time. Now, even though the internal polling looks better for Trump, the public polling isn't great for Kamala Harris. So Nate Silver updated his forecast. And what I really like about this is he's now showing more momentum towards Trump. So you can see here, Kamala Harris is still ahead in many of the swing states. You know, she's technically ahead in Pennsylvania, though Nate Silver is now projecting, if the election was held today, that Trump would win Pennsylvania. But you can see the change from last week. Almost all red across the board. And then the change from the last month, again, almost all red from across the board. So Trump is gaining ground in all of these states. So like Pennsylvania, for example, Kamala Harris is only ahead by 0.2 points in the aggregate polling averages. But Trump has gained half a percentage point within the last week, and he's gained 1.9 points within the last month. So across the board, you see, either Trump is ahead or Kamala is barely ahead, and she is quickly losing ground, quickly losing momentum to Trump. And so that's why Nate Silver's forecast is the way it is. And don't forget, we now have 2 cycles of historic polling data behind us, 2020 and 2016, of Trump outperforming his polling numbers pretty radically. And so that's what Nate Silver did in this next chart. He said, and I think there's multiple ways to forecast this. We have the current forecast in the middle, and based on the current forecast, he's saying that Trump has a 60.6% chance, a 60 0.6% probability of winning the election. And if Trump gains 1% in the current polls, that pops up to 67%, et cetera. And you can see how it goes from either way. Well, if these are how the probability changes with changes from current pollings, I think this can also apply to if Trump is underestimated. If Trump is underestimated by 1 point, underestimated by 2 points, if he overperforms by 1 or 2 points, then his odds, his probability of winning go up. Now, we can talk about polling numbers all we want, but at the end of the day, swing voters, undecided voters, all voters in general, they really care about what the candidates are proposing. They care about the vision for the future. Well, yesterday, Trump revealed a brand new policy proposal. Of course, earlier this year, he did the no taxes on tips. Then it was the child tax credit. Well, now he is proposing no taxes on overtime.
No taxes on overtime. The people who work overtime are among the hardest working citizens in our country. And for too long, no one in Washington has been looking out for them. Those are the people. They really work. They're police officers, nurses, factory workers, construction workers, truck drivers, and machine operators. It's time for the working man and woman to finally catch a break, and that's what we're doing, because this is a good one.
Now, what's really interesting about that is I think there are two types of overtime workers. Number one are overtime workers whose careers are, you just take that into account. He had mentioned nurses, for example, physicians. And there's also another type of overtime worker. I think these are the people who are forced to do it, either, forced by their bosses or economically forced to do it. They need the money. They need, the extra income to be able to provide for their family in order to make ends meet. So, these are people who are exhausted. These are people who are tired, and they don't usually just do this 1 week. They do it week after week after week. It is really a grind for them to make a living. So I think that's a huge immediate benefit to people working overtime, right? That is cash immediately back in your pocket. I think that's a great proposal. Honestly, was really excited when I heard it. Now, what I wish both campaigns, and some people say, Daniel, you never criticize President Trump. No, here's a criticism. And here's the thing, I'm going to criticize both campaigns. I wish that both candidates, both parties, and Republicans tend to do this more than Democrats, but this is serious. The interest on the national debt has now exceeded $1 trillion. According to CNBC, interest payments on the national debt tops $1 trillion as deficit swells. That is a massive amount of money. Obviously, my generation, millennials, Gen Z, and those to come after us, we're going to be the ones stuck paying for this. This is, I don't know why no one is talking about not only spending, but how are we going to reduce the national debt? The Bureau of Economic Analysis, they projected that by 2030, the interest payments will reach $3 trillion. So it's going to be triple what it is today. And when you look at the interest payments this way, it's exponential. It's going to keep going up. Now, the issue here is spending. Democrats want to talk, and this is why, I'm an independent, but for those of you who've gone to my channel, I consider myself a right-leaning independent. This is one of the reasons why, because, no one on the left, Democrats never talk about cutting spending. They think the solution is taxing more. Well, take a look at this. So the economic value of the entire United States is $28.78 trillion. Pop quiz, what's the national debt right now? It's $35 trillion. So you could take everything everyone owns in the entire country. You could take everything in our bank accounts. You could tax everything at 100%, put it towards the national debt, and we would still be in debt. Our national debt, $35 trillion. The entire U.S. economy is worth $28.7 trillion. How in the world are we going to pay for this? This is a disaster. This is a train wreck. It's not difficult to see. You can see it coming from a mile away. We might not deal with it this decade. We might not deal with it the next decade. But sooner or later, this monster is going to look us in the face and I hope it happens in a time of peace. I hope it happens in a time of prosperity. But, Murphy's Law. What happens if we're in the middle of World War III and then our debt payment comes due and we can't make it? Who? I mean, this is a national security crisis as much as it is an economic crisis. And I wish people would talk more about it. Elon Musk, fortunately, is talking about it. But, because he wasn't born here, he can't run for president. But come on. I wish both campaigns would take this seriously and both parties beyond this election cycle, because this truly is a crisis. Here's what Elon Musk had to say.
America is also going bankrupt extremely quickly. And everyone seems to be sort of whistling past the graveyard on this one. But
they're all grabbing the silverware. Everyone's stuffing their pockets in the silverware before the Titanic sinks.
Well, the Defense Department budget is a very big budget. Okay, it's $1 trillion a year. DoD, Intel, it's $1 trillion. And interest payments on the national debt just exceeded the Defense Department budget. They're over $1 trillion a year, just in interest, and rising. We're adding $1 trillion to our debt, which our kids and grandkids are going to have to pay somehow. Every 3 months, and then soon it's going to be every 2 months, and then every month, and then the only thing we'll be able to pay is interest. And if this is, it's just it's just like a person at scale that has racked up too much credit card debt, this does not have a good ending.
So, yeah, I think he's 100% right. My message to both campaigns, if anyone, is connected and watching, is someone please come up with a plan for the national debt. And Trump has been coming up with all these great proposals, all these great plans. And, he's a great closer, right? In 2016, 2020, his poll numbers, shot up coming up to Election Day. And I believe that that's what they're doing now. They're releasing more and more policy proposals as we get closer to Election Day so he can close the deal, seal the deal. And I just pray, please, someone talk about the debt, because it really is a crisis. Now, Tim Walz, Kamala Harris's running mate, went to Michigan and he let the P word slip, but it is not the P word you're thinking about.
Because this started, and I love this story, as a young prosecutor. Kamala Harris talked about going in that courtroom for the first time. Kamala Harris, for the people.
I mean, obviously, probably, likely a slip of the tongue, but you gotta love that gulp afterwards. He knew what he said, and it just, he knew it wasn't a good look. But at this same event, the crowd started chanting, "We're not eating cats." And now that is weird. First of all, that's not what Trump has said, and that's not what the resident, no one's accusing them of eating cats. Totally misrepresenting the argument there. Also, a weird campaign chant, just saying. As always, all of this is my commentary, my analysis, and I would love to know yours in the comments below. What do you think about CNN's meltdown on Kamala Harris's polling numbers? Or what do you think about the national debt crisis? What do you think can be done about that? And do you think anything will be done about that? I just edited out a sneeze. You're welcome. If you haven't already, please be sure to give me a thumbs up. I know it's a simple thing to ask, but it really does help me in the algorithm to reach more viewers like you. Be sure to smash that subscribe button and to check out one of these videos.